Your administration has laid out 4 different dates by which you've said that the debt ceiling must be raised or the U.S. would face potential dire consequences. 3 of those dates have come and gone, and we haven't faced financial calamity. Some of your critics have argued that these are then scare tactics to force a deal. So why should the American people believe that the August 2nd deadline is the final deadline by which a deal must be raised? And would you also spell out for us what you believe will happen if the debt ceiling is not raised by that date?
Jessica, let's be clear. We haven't given out 4 different dates. We have given out dates that are markers for us getting into trouble. It's the equivalent of you're driving down the street and the yellow light starts flashing. The yellow light is flashing. Now, it hasn't been a red light yet, so what Tim Geithner has said is, technically speaking, we're in a position now where we're having to do a whole bunch of things to make sure that our bills are paid. By August 2nd, we run out of tools to make sure that all our bills are paid. So that is a hard deadline. And I want everybody to understand that this is a jobs issue. This is not an abstraction. If the United States government, for the first time, cannot pay its bills, if it defaults, then the consequences for the U.S. economy will be significant and unpredictable, and that is not a good thing. We don't know how capital markets will react. But if capital markets suddenly decide, you know what, the U.S. government doesn't pay its bills, so we're going to start pulling our money out, and the U.S. Treasury has to start to raise interest rates in order to attract more money to pay off our bills, that means higher interest rates for businesses. That means higher interest rates for consumers. So all the headwinds that we're already experiencing in terms of the recovery will get worse. That's not my opinion. I think that's a consensus opinion. And that means that job growth will be further stymied. It will be further hampered as a consequence of that decision. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, I want to address what I've been hearing from some quarters, which is, well, maybe this debt limit thing is not really that serious. We can just pay interest on the debt. This idea has been floating around in some Republican circles. This is the equivalent of me saying, you know what, I will choose to pay my mortgage, but I'm not going to pay my car note. Or I'm going to pay my car note, but I'm not going to pay my student loan. Now, a lot of people in really tough situations are having to make those tough decisions. But for the U.S. government to start picking and choosing like that is not going to inspire a lot of confidence. Moreover, which bills are we going to decide to pay? These guys have said, well, maybe we just pay the interest on for bondholders. So are we really going to start paying interest to Chinese who hold treasuries, and we're not going to pay folks their Social Security checks? Or we're not going to pay to veterans for their disability checks? I mean, which bills, which obligations are we going to say we don't have to pay? And last point I want to make about this. These are bills that Congress ran up. The money's been spent. The obligations have been made. So this isn't a situation, I think the American people have to understand this. This is not a situation where Congress is going to say, okay, we won't buy this car, or we won't take this vacation. They took the vacation, they bought the car, and now they're saying maybe we don't have to pay, or we don't have to pay as fast as we said we were going to, or that's not how responsible families act. and we're the greatest nation on earth, and we can't act that way. So this is urgent, and it needs to get settled.